Good Monday morning. So, driving to Warner Robins as the usual. So, pretty much got a little bit of work done this weekend on my nurse practitioner program, and for this semester, I pretty much have got to turn in a discussion post for my advanced anatomy and physiology class. The one I chose was Crohn's versus ulcerative colitis, which, admittedly, the biggest uh, noticeable difference between the two is when you do scans or a colonoscopy or anything like that, is the ulcerative colitis usually starts from the bottom end of the rectum or colon and slowly climbs its way up, whereas Crohn's can kind of be anywhere through the digestive tract, and it's kind of patchy, meaning it's not uniform, it's not all together. Think of kind of like a cobblestone road, and then the ulcerative colitis is more of like a paved road, is the best kind of imagery I could kind of give you. But treatments, roughly the same, stuff like that. Obviously, there's a little bit differences on the microscopic level too, but that's the biggest difference that's noticeable when you're treating patients or trying to figure out which one it is. But that should be an easy discussion post. I'm just trying to, whenever I get back on Thursday, I'll just basically kind of create some kind of informatic. I'll probably use Canvas. I've used Canvas before for a couple other like informatics and stuff like that, and I really like the software. I'm not a pro user of Canvas, but I will say it looks pretty nice. I see some of the pro templates and stuff like that. I'm not gonna lie, they're very nice, very nice. But I don't think I use it enough. Admittedly, once I start getting back into real estate, as far as like being on the selling side more so, I might actually use Canvas for that, because they have some really good stuff for real estate that I was kind of meandering and found. I think that's honestly where some of these, kind of like, for instance, like with our brokerage, we have a guy that does our videography and everything, and then he can also do like some PDF pamphlets kind of thing or flyers. I'm not sure if he uses Canvas or not, but some of the stuff that I've seen him do or seen other people do and other realtors do looks very similar. So if they're not using Canvas, they got to be using something very similar, which is fine. I mean, I don't mind it because, you know, when when you're doing any kind of job, I'm a huge believer in specialization. It's just very hard to be a master of everything in a way. But you should have a basic level of understanding in many things. But you should specialize in one that you like and appreciate, or maybe a couple that you like and appreciate. So, for instance, for me, I admittedly like healthcare. I like the mystery of it, so to speak, and everything. And I like helping people. I like, getting people better and everything. I think it goes back to my childhood and stuff like that, and just growing up and wanting to make a difference not only in my life but other people's lives. And I don't know, I'm naturally gifted at it, I will say also. So that never hurts when you kind of find out your God-given talent and then you pursue it. I think that's a noteworthy thing to do. But the other thing that I like is real estate. Admittedly, when I was a little kid, I thought I wanted to be like an architect or some kind of house designer or something, maybe like some HGTV stuff that you see. Um, I built my front porch. We're building our fence. We'll probably do a couple more home renovations before we get really ready to sell our house come next year or the year after. But I don't know. It's like I like those things. But for instance, like a good example of like the specialization that I'm talking about is, for instance, like my car. Do I know how to change my oil, change brakes, change tires? Yes. Do I know how to rebuild the motor or transmission? Absolutely not. I am not one of those guys that knows how to rebuild a motor. But I do know the basics of changing my oil, checking my tires, changing brakes, stuff like that. A few other things, like I'll change out, like if one of my headlights goes out or something like that, I know how to change the headlights, tail lights, stuff like that. So I have the, so to speak, the basics covered. But by no means am I one of those guys that can put my car or my truck up on a lift, change out the CV axles and rebuild a transmission over the weekend and put it all back together and drive it come Monday morning. Just not my thing. Or for instance, like my brother-in-law, he's an electrician. Guy does industrial electrician work, can run electrical. Well, he can draw out the plan. He can figure out exactly how much stuff to buy. He can run the entire job, crew, everything, or just run the wires himself if need be. But that's his specialty there. Me, I can rewire some outlets and some plug-ins and some light switches, as long as it's pretty basics. Past that, electrical work, I'm calling my brother-in-law. I'm like, hey, I got this thing over here. I have no freaking clue what I'm doing. Like for instance, like on the electrical stuff, I changed out my ceiling fan, I changed out some outlets and some light switches. But if I had to like completely, like let's say for instance, like we had to run an entire new electrical wire that spliced into like one of the old electric wires to add a little bit more lighting to the garage when we first bought it, because it basically had no lighting at all. My brother-in-law was the one that got up there and added the new wire, spliced it in, taped it all up, nutted it up, everything, and did all the things. Put the light boxes in, wired that all up. Like, he did all of it. Could I have done that? Probably not. I mean, if I would have like really tried and looked everything up and asked him a bunch of questions, yeah, I probably could have done it myself. But at the same time, just, I'm gonna redo this wiring, hop up there and do it. Hell no. I would have electrocuted myself or burnt my house down. But it's just stuff like that. Like, I believe in specialties because of that. And even in healthcare, there's specialties. You got your surgeons, your infectious disease, your respiratory pulmonologists, you got your cardiovascular surgeons and stuff like that. So specialty is it's just a huge overarching theme in the world. And I think that's kind of where, I don't want to say schools kind of screw us over, but they kind of do at the same time. And that's why I'm a huge fan of like the charter school system model. So from my understanding, the charter school systems, they basically teach you like basically in a pathway that's going to direct you into like a career field. Whether that be welding, nursing, healthcare, logistics, stuff like that. Basically, it's kind of catering it towards that thing. Versus the public school system, you get like this useless knowledge in a way. Like, for instance, what is it? Pythagorean's theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I mean, I can still remember that crap. How many times have I used it? Never. I was going to say whenever I built my porch, because I was trying to make sure everything was square. But, I did not use that theorem to figure that out. I literally had a carpenter square and figured it out that way. So, I've never used that. But you know what I have had to do is balance a checkbook and figure out the difference between low interest and high interest debts, or things of that nature. But you know what wasn't taught to me in school? Any of that stuff. Or, like some of the stuff I mentioned, changing a tire, changing the oil in your car, learning how to do a basic outlet. Admittedly, I took ag mechanics, so I did learn the basic outlet stuff there. But as far as like just general school teaching, learned none of that. Which I'm not saying that all of what you learn in the public school system is useless or anything like that. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying a large portion of it, in my opinion, is fluff, is the way I would word it. It's stuff that you most likely will never, ever use. Oh, these people were throwing me off with they were sitting there. But anyways, a lot of it's something that you'll never use. And that's why I'm just kind of like, The more and more I look at it, the more I think about trying to get the wife to homeschool and just taking the kids out of the public school system in general. Which right now our kids kind of like it, but at the same time they kind of don't. For instance, like my son, he likes playing with the other kids, but he's also playing like rec league soccer. My daughter, same thing, but she's also in gymnastics. So they're seeing, kids their age and stuff like that there at those places. And we do take them out, so we don't really just hoard the kids at the house, so to speak. Take them out in public and, let them have fun and play with other kids and things of that nature. But I feel like that's very important, having those social interactions and everything. But at the same time, I feel like the school system, in a way, is just kind of failing us as a youth and as a nation. But that's a topic for another day. Back to what I was saying. So, specialization, huge fan of it, really believe in it. Like, for instance, I'm not going to be treating people as a nurse practitioner and then building a house the very next day, because I'm not a contractor. I'm going to hire a contractor to probably build it. But I like it. I like the specialization and everything. And I just think it's a good system that we have with that. But you do need that basic understanding of a lot of things at the same time. You don't want to be so one-dimensional that you become obsolete. So, for instance, like some of these people that have these have jobs that's basically been replaced with AI or computers back in the day, and all these things, like, why does, like, for instance, like, let's say a company used to have 3 or 4 secretaries and CPAs and stuff like that to run their books and keep accounting numbers and all this stuff. Now, instead of having, 6 employees crunching numbers, all of a sudden they're using computers and AI and stuff like that, and they brought that number down to 2. Now all of a sudden those 4 other people have lost their jobs to technology in a way. And then that's obviously why you got people that hate technology, because, they lose their job to it. But what they don't realize is with technology, that opens up a new sector also where, someone's got to run that stuff. Someone's got to help build it out and do programs and platforms and stuff like that. So there's a market there of jobs. It just all depends on your ability to shift, I guess. I know I watched a video a while back, and they were talking about, the different shifts you'll have in life, where it's like, when you're first born, all you care about is, eating and having a clean, dry diaper. And then as a toddler, you shift into having fun and trying to explore the world around you. And as you get a little bit older, it's interacting with people, and then as you get to a teenager, you're starting to try to figure out who you are as a person. And then when you get to a young adult, you're still trying to figure out who you are and what you want to be now. And then later, as a middle-aged adult, you're trying to figure out what kind of family you want, or what's the next step as far as your career. And then as you get to as an older adult, you're shifting into, what am I going to do for retirement? What is something that I'm missing that I should have accomplished? And then as a retiree, you're shifting into that legacy phase of what kind of legacy am I going to leave behind? Each one of those are shifts, like you go from one position to the next position to the next. Obviously, you can talk about like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, trust versus mistrust, stuff like that. But I like the shift version a little bit better. It makes more sense to me, and I feel like it's a much more broader approach, and it focuses more on the mentality of what you're going to be doing rather than just hierarchy of needs. But that's going to be the last bit of this video. I hope y'all have a great and wonderful day. I'm going to listen to some music. Probably maybe some Chris Stapleton today. Maybe as I get a little bit closer to work. Maybe swap it over to some Big X. Found a new 50 Cent song that came out that's got like Ice Cube, Snoop Dogg, and Dr. Dre in it. I think it came out like maybe a couple months ago, and I came across it. And can't remember the name of it, but I'm not gonna lie, that's when I'm at the gym, I have been crushing that a little bit. But I'll finish this drive. I'll probably start listening to some gangster rap or some hard rock or something as I get closer to work to kind of pump me up, wake me up a little bit, and then on the beginning of the drive portion, I'll probably listen to country, just trying to relax and chill. But y'all have a great and wonderful day.